A few minutes ago, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation officially announced that Russian troops had prevented the breakthrough of the units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces deep into Russian territory in the Kursk region. However, at the same time, the Russian military department acknowledged that fighting is still ongoing on the border with the Kursk region. The Russian military admitted that some units of the armed forces of Ukraine are still located on the territory of the Kursk region, a few hundred meters from the state border. According to the commander of the Chechen Spetsnaz Akhmat, General Apti Aladanov, the situation on the border of the Kursk region is not critical. The Chechen general notes that the situation is under the control of Russian troops. At the same time, it is worth noting that the information coming from the Kursk region is covered with the so-called war smog. Even Russian war correspondents do not have accurate information on this sector of the front. Therefore, I urge you not to believe the statements of any bloggers on YouTube and Telegram channels, but to trust only the official statements of the Russian Defense Ministry. To be honest, what is happening on the Kursk region's border did not surprise me. The fact is that in February of this year, after the strategically important city of Avdiivka came under the control of the Russian army, the situation of the armed forces of Ukraine began to deteriorate rapidly. Starting in February of this year, the Russian army began to move forward in almost all directions of the front. Within 7 months, Russian troops took control of dozens of cities and towns, including strategically important heights. The successes of the Russian troops were so obvious and convincing that even Russophobic Western analytical centers began to recognize the successes of the Russian army on the battlefield. When Russia achieved significant victories in this war and felt confident, I noticed that the Russian generals began to feel more relaxed and calm. Moreover, watching the reports from the front line, I also drew attention to the fact that the Russian military began to remove anti-tank barriers and the so-called dragon's teeth in certain areas of the front. When I saw this, my first thought was that the Russian High Military Command relaxed too early and believed in its victory ahead of time. The fact that the units of the armed forces of Ukraine attacked the Kursk region and managed to advance several hundred meters deep into Russian territory was the result of the excessive confidence and calmness of the Russian High Military Command after the Russian army seized the initiative on the battlefield. Against this backdrop, I urge the Russian generals not to relax and always be prepared for the worst-case scenario, even after the surrender of the Kiev authorities. You must understand that the Ukrainian army is losing the war. And therefore, at this stage, the Ukrainian army is excessively dangerous, as it is ready to do anything to prolong its life. What is happening now in the Kursk region is the agony of the armed forces of Ukraine. And this death agony pushes the Ukrainian army to take desperate steps. In particular, I am absolutely sure that the armed forces of Ukraine attacked the Kursk region in order to capture the Kursk nuclear power plant. The fact is that Kiev is well aware that it has lost the war, and Ukraine is doing everything to improve its position in the upcoming negotiations with Moscow. Seizing the Kursk nuclear power plant may allow Ukraine to start negotiations with Moscow on terms acceptable to Kiev. Nevertheless, I am sure Russian troops will not allow the capture of the Kursk nuclear power plant by the armed forces of Ukraine. I sincerely hope that what happened in the Kursk region will be a lesson for the Russian High Military Command. I hope that the Russian generals will no longer relax, even against the backdrop of major victories of the Russian army. Only in this case, Russia will be able to achieve all its goals within the framework of a special military operation.